It starts with a sound you might not expect in a place like this. Silence, not the peaceful quiet of a library or a sunrise, but the heavy, unnatural silence of a space designed for thousands of people that is now standing empty. I want you to imagine walking down a street that used to vibrate with music, with languages from every corner of the globe, with the chaotic energy of life. Now, imagine that energy simply vanishing, like a light switch has been turned off. This is not a scene from a post-apocalyptic movie. This is the reality facing 10 American cities right now. And the cause isn't a natural disaster, or a war, or a pandemic. It is a number, $250. Specifically, the new visa integrity fee that was signed into law in July 2025 and began draining the lifeblood of U.S. tourism shortly after. On paper, it looks like a simple administrative change, a way to fund security and ensure compliance. But in the real world, where businesses operate on thin margins and travelers count every penny, it has become an invisible wall. When you add this new fee to the existing application costs, the price for a family of 4 from South America or Asia to just ask for permission to visit the United States has skyrocketed to nearly $2,000. That is $2,000 spent before they even buy a plane ticket, before they book a hotel room, before they spend a single dollar in an American restaurant. For millions of potential visitors, the math simply no longer works. And for the cities that built their economies on welcoming the world, the consequences are devastating. We are going to travel across the country today, from the deserts of the Southwest to the beaches of Florida, to witness the silent cost of bureaucracy. We will look beyond the spreadsheets and the government reports. We will look at the empty tables, the cancelled tours, and the quiet despair of the people who are paying the price for a policy they didn't write. Our journey begins in the American Southwest, in a landscape defined by its vastness and its beauty. Tucson, Arizona. For decades, this city has been a gateway, a place where the cultures of the North and South blend seamlessly under the desert sun. Guides here will tell you about the days when the winter season meant a flood of visitors. They remember the parking lots full of tour buses, the hiking trails dotted with groups speaking Spanish, Portuguese, and German. They remember the evenings when the restaurants in the historic districts were so loud with conversation you had to lean in to hear your friend speak. Those memories are becoming painful now because the reality outside the window is so different. The desert is still beautiful, but the people who used to come to admire it are gone. Local tour operators are reporting a 32% drop in international bookings since the new fee structure took effect. That number, 32%, might sound abstract until you talk to the people living it. It means that for every 3 buses that used to arrive, 1 is now missing. It means that a third of the revenue that kept small family-owned businesses alive has evaporated. I spoke with a desert tour guide who has worked in Tucson for 20 years. He told me he used to be booked solid 6 months in advance. Now, he spends his mornings staring at a phone that doesn't ring. His clients, many from South America, have told him bluntly that they cannot justify the new visa costs. They are choosing to go to Europe or Asia instead, places where they feel more welcome and where their money goes further. And it is not just the guides. It is the hotels that are running at half capacity. It is the souvenir shops that are closing early because there are no customers to serve. Tucson is a city that thrives on connection. And right now, that connection has been severed by a fee that most Americans don't even know exists. Leaving the heat of the desert, we travel north to a place known for its cool rivers and lush landscapes. Spokane, Washington. This might seem like an unlikely victim of international visa policy, but Spokane's economy is deeply tied to a specific type of visitor, the J-1 visa holder. For years, the resorts, parks, and summer camps around Spokane have relied on international students coming to the U.S. for cultural exchange programs. These young people fill the seasonal jobs that keep the tourism industry running during the peak summer months. They are the lifeguards, the housekeeping staff, the servers, and the camp counselors. But the new visa integrity fee applies to them too. Imagine being a college student wanting to come to America for a summer job, only to find out that the cost of the visa alone is more than you might make in your first 2 weeks of work. The result was predictable. Applications for J-1 visas have plummeted, and now Spokane is facing a summer that never really came. Resorts that invested millions in upgrades and new facilities are now operating with skeleton crews. One resort owner shared a heartbreaking image that captures this crisis perfectly. He found himself, the owner of the company, folding towels and cleaning rooms late into the night because he simply could not find the staff. He had the guests, mostly domestic travelers, but he didn't have the people to serve them, and when service suffers, reputation suffers. Visitors who have a bad experience don't come back. So the fee isn't just stopping international workers, it is slowly eroding the quality of the American tourism product itself. Spokane shows us that the ecosystem of tourism is fragile, and when you remove one critical piece, the whole machine starts to grind to a halt. From the quiet Northwest, we move south to a city that is synonymous with noise, music, and celebration: New Orleans, Louisiana. If there is one place in America that should never be quiet, it is the French Quarter. This city's soul is built on jazz, on festivals, on the chaotic joy of Mardi Gras. It is a city that has always welcomed the world, and the world has always loved it back. Walk down Frenchman Street on a Friday night in the past, and you would hear a symphony of accents. You would see French tourists dancing with locals, Japanese jazz enthusiasts clapping along to the brass bands. But the music is playing to a smaller room these days. Ticket sales for the major jazz and heritage festivals have dropped by nearly 40% among international buyers. That is a staggering loss. Think about what that means for a street musician. For many performers here, the money they make from international tourists isn't just extra cash, it is their livelihood. Visitors from Europe and Latin America are often the ones who value this art form the most, the ones who buy the albums and tip the most generously. When they stop coming, the music doesn't just get quieter, it gets desperate. I watched a brass band play their hearts out on a corner that used to be packed shoulder to shoulder. There were maybe 10 people watching. The energy was still there, but the feedback loop was broken. A city that lives on cultural exchange is slowly starving because the people who want to consume that culture can no longer afford the cover charge to enter the country. New Orleans is resilient. It has survived hurricanes and floods, but this is a man-made disaster, a slow strangulation of the cultural economy that is painful to watch because it is so unnecessary. Moving up the Mississippi River, we arrive in a city that was preparing for its biggest moment on the global stage: Kansas City, Missouri. This city secured the bid to be a host for the 2026 World Cup. It was a dream come true, a chance to showcase the heartland of America to the entire world. Local officials and business owners went all in. They renovated stadiums, built new hotels, and expanded transportation networks. They were banking on a massive influx of football fans from South America, Africa, and Europe. But now, that dream is turning into a financial nightmare. Early projections are estimating a loss of $200 million in expected revenue. Why? Because for a fan in Brazil or Argentina or Nigeria, the cost of attending the World Cup has just increased by hundreds of dollars simply for the visa. Many are doing the math and deciding to watch the games on TV instead. The tour packages that were supposed to be selling out by now are sitting unsold. It is a cruel irony. We invited the world to a party, and then we put a bouncer at the door charging $500 just to get in line. The stage in Kansas City is set, the lights are on, the hotels are ready, but there is a very real fear that when the whistle blows, the stands will be filled only with locals, and the massive economic boom that was promised will turn into a bust. This isn't just about lost profit, it's about lost opportunity. It's about a city that reached for the stars and got pulled back down by red tape. Now let's head to the coast, to a place where the sun always shines, but the mood is currently clouding over. Miami, Florida. Miami has always been the capital of Latin America in the US. It is a city fueled by the constant flow of people, money, and culture from the South. Shoppers from Brazil, families from Colombia, business people from Mexico. They are the engine of Miami's retail and hospitality sectors. But that engine is sputtering. The new visa fees have hit Latin American travelers harder than almost anyone else. The drop in visitors is visible instantly if you walk down Ocean Drive or visit the high-end malls in Bal Harbour. Restaurants that used to require reservations weeks in advance now have tables open on a Saturday night. Waiters are standing around, checking their phones, waiting for customers who aren't coming. Revenue in some of the most popular tourist districts is down between 20 and 35%. For a city where rent and the cost of living are skyrocketing, this drop in income is catastrophic for service workers. The visa integrity fee has created a disconnect between Miami and its natural market. It feels like a bridge has been burned. Families who used to come to Miami twice a year to shop and vacation are now looking at the bill and deciding to stay home or go elsewhere. The vibrancy of Miami depends on this flow, and right now, the flow is drying up. Just a few hours north, another kingdom is finding its walls are too high. Orlando, Florida. The theme park capital of the world, a place built on magic and imagination, but there is no magic wand to fix a labor shortage. Like Spokane, Orlando relies heavily on international students and workers to staff its massive parks and resorts. The J-1 visa decline has hit here with the force of a hurricane. We are seeing reports of parks cutting back on live entertainment shows because they don't have the performers. Restaurants inside the parks are closing sections of their dining rooms because they don't have enough servers. Wait times for rides remain long, but not because there are too many people. It's because there aren't enough staff to load them efficiently. And then there are the international families. A trip to Disney World is already a massive expense for a family from the UK or Brazil. Adding nearly $2,000 in visa fees for a family of 4 is the tipping point. The lines at the ticket counters are shorter. The hotels surrounding the parks are seeing lower occupancy rates. When the happiest place on earth becomes too expensive and understaffed, the magic begins to fade. Orlando is a machine designed to process millions of visitors, and when the fuel supply is cut, the machine starts to break down. We move now to the icons, the cities that define America to the rest of the world. New York City, the city that never sleeps, seems to be taking a nap. Of course, Times Square is still bright, and there are still people. New York is too big to ever be truly empty. But look closer. The mix of people has changed. The spending power has changed. New York relies on international tourists more than almost any other US city because they stay longer and spend more. They are the ones buying tickets to Broadway shows, shopping on Fifth Avenue, and eating at high-end restaurants. With the drop in these high-value visitors, the city's tourism board is facing a budget crisis. Less revenue means less money to promote the city, which leads to fewer visitors. It is a downward spiral. Broadway shows are closing earlier than expected because advance ticket sales from overseas are down. Luxury retailers are reporting sluggish quarters. The lights of the skyline are still on, but the economic voltage running through the city has dropped. New York is a resilient beast, but even it cannot shrug off the loss of millions of its best customers. On the other side of the country, the Dream Factory is having a rude awakening. Los Angeles, California. Hollywood has always been a magnet for dreamers and tourists alike. The Walk of Fame, the studios, the beaches. But Los Angeles is particularly dependent on tourism from Asia, and for visitors from countries like China, India, and parts of Southeast Asia, the visa process was already difficult. The new fee has made it punitive. We are seeing a 40% drop in visitors from non-visa waiver countries in LA. The tour buses that used to ferry groups around Beverly Hills and Hollywood Boulevard are parking in their lots. Small studios that offer behind-the-scenes tours are suspending operations. But there is a deeper loss here too. Los Angeles is a hub for international film students and creative talent. These are the people who bring new ideas and new energy to the entertainment industry. Many of them are now finding the barrier to entry too high. They are going to film schools in London or Vancouver or Sydney. We are not just losing tourists, we are losing the next generation of storytellers who wanted to come here and be part of the American dream. The creative drain is invisible right now, but we will feel it in the years to come. Finally, we come to the heart of the Midwest, Chicago, Illinois. There is a bitter irony here. Chicago was one of the first major cities to sound the alarm about this fee. City officials and business leaders warned Washington that this would happen. They were ignored, and now Chicago is suffering some of the steepest declines. Booking data shows a 44% drop in international reservations. The architectural boat tours, which are world-famous and a staple of the Chicago summer, are reporting passenger numbers down by half. Half. Think about the revenue loss. Think about the boat captains, the guides, the ticket sellers. Chicago has worked incredibly hard to build its reputation as a global cultural destination, shedding its old industrial image. It invested in Millennium Park, in museums, in its waterfront, and it worked. People were coming from everywhere. Now, that momentum has hit a brick wall. Cultural exchange programs that connected Chicago schools with institutions around the world have been cancelled due to budget constraints and visa costs for the visiting students. The warning was sounded, but the ship hit the iceberg anyway. So, here we are. 10 cities, 10 different stories. But they all share the same ending: a sense of loss, a sense of unnecessary waste. We have traveled from the empty deserts of Arizona to the quiet jazz clubs of New Orleans, from the struggling theme parks of Florida to the worried boardrooms of New York. What we are witnessing is not just an economic adjustment, it is an identity crisis. For a century, America has projected an image of openness. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses. Now, the sign on the door seems to read, entry fee, $500, non-refundable. The visa integrity fee was supposed to protect the system. Instead, it is isolating us. It is protecting us from the very people who want to admire our country, learn from our culture, and contribute to our economy. When we build walls, whether they are made of concrete or made of fees, we don't just keep people out. We lock ourselves in. We prevent the world from seeing who we really are. And perhaps more tragically, we prevent ourselves from seeing the world reflected in our own streets. The silence in these 10 cities is a warning. If we continue to treat visitors as a revenue source to be exploited rather than guests to be welcomed, that silence will only grow louder. Is this fee really about security, or is it a tax on our own prosperity and our own values? Look at your own city. Look at the businesses on your main street. Are they quieter than they used to be? Because this isn't just happening in these 10 places. The ripple effect is spreading. And unless something changes, the next city on this list might be yours. Thank you for listening. If you believe that building bridges is more important than building toll booths, please share this story. We need to start talking about the true cost of these policies before the silence becomes permanent.